didn't really start writing. I started writing then. Never liked anything I wrote until around 1974.
How come so you were writing 8 years, songwriting?
Yeah.
Must have been a few decent tunes for you, or?
No. In those days, you were wandering around trying to find your identity, and you would go from one style to another, you know. Like I said, a lot was happening every month or two, literally, every month or two, something, you know. Suddenly it was, you know, the Kinks, you know. Then a month later it was the Yardbirds, and then it's, you know, the Hollies and the Who and
Doors.
Procol Harum, and then America started with the Byrds and Bob Dylan and, you know, Buffalo Springfield and, you know, Youngbloods and Moby Grape, and you know, so, you know, 1 minute it's mod type music, then it's Eastern influence music, and then it's psychedelic music, and then it's country music, and you know, and you're shifting and you're going with the trends a little bit to try and learn who you are, you know.
And when did you learn who you were? I mean, music-wise, songwriting-wise.
You're going through the stages.
Mm-hmm.
You're going through the different trends, you know, that were going through society at the time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Every 6 months or a year, the whole thing would shift. You know, suddenly, 1965, folk rock was born. So it went from English music exclusively. I mean, from the England never having a song on the charts, really, for a gimmicky thing or two. They dominated the charts completely for a year and a half.
I think the Beatles had five slots, 1 to 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was in '64, but the Beatles, Dave Clark 5, were just as big. Then the Rolling Stones, then, you know, Cherry and the Pacemakers, the Herman's Hermits, the Searchers, Dusty Springfield, you know, Petula Clark, and then the Kinks, and, you know. Literally, for a year and a half, almost all American music died. Only the Four Seasons survived, interestingly. The Beach Boys survived. And of course, soul music, you know, Motown and the Stax and all that. But then suddenly, summer of '65, which seemed like a long time, you know, later, the Byrds hit the charts with Bob Dylan's Mr. Tambourine Man, which shifted everything back to America, because a month or two later, their success was so great that radio allowed Bob Dylan himself to enter pop music from the folk world. He started recording electric songs, mm-hmm. and like a Rolling Stone, and he's a very unlikely pop star, you know, at the time. But he succeeded on the charts, and then the Turtles and Sonny and Cher and Grassroots and Mamas and Papas, and all of a sudden folk rock was born. So now you tune into that, you know? And then, you know, then things shift towards Eastern music around '66, you know? All of a sudden, George Harrison puts...
Norwegian Wood, I think.
Norwegian Wood was actually '65.
Yeah.
But, you know, all of a sudden it's getting more and more interesting in that way, and Jefferson Airplane, and you know, the psychedelic stuff comes in, you know, '66, '67, you know.